Mental Health Monday on Radio City Talk with Mick Coyle.
Radio City Talk.
Time for Mental Health Extra now with Jake Mills joining me, Mick Coyle, in the studio from Chasing the Stigma. Jake, it's great to see you. How are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, very good, thank you.
Yeah, you've got something very shiny on your desk.
Yeah, I have. Yeah. You brought it up.
Hasn't it been brought up today on the show already?
No. To be honest, I've kept it in a box until now.
Yeah.
And now I've just got it out. The 2018 Bauer Radio News Awards. So Bauer is a big media conglomerate for which we are part. And we were nominated for Best News and Feature, Best News or Special.
Okay.
In the Bauer Radio News Awards. So I travelled over to Manchester and we didn't win. Right, we didn't win. But at the end...
We didn't win.
No, but at the end they went, we have got one extra award to represent something quite incredible, which happened exactly 1 year ago today, the Radio City Talk Mental Health Marathon. And I was invited up to be presented with the 2018 Bauer Radio News Awards Bauer Gold Award. There you go.
What's the name on it?
My name.
Yeah.
So I very quickly, and I think there might be evidence of this on the internet, that I very quickly said that it wasn't just me, it was very much a team effort, including somebody called, I think I might have called you Jack Mills.
Yeah.
I might have got the wrong name.
Like that.
And Lizzie Doyle.
Yeah.
And Layla and Dave and Pete Price, who were all there exactly 1 year ago today.
Yeah. No, do you know what? You deserve that. You deserve your name being on there, because it's not only just about that show, but it's about this show and the show that you've how many episodes? Coming up to 100 episodes.
Well, I didn't realise that, the Where's Your Head At campaign, which is like a Bauer-led thing, which is going through Parliament on Thursday.
Mm-hmm.
The CEO who presented me with that went, basically, after you did that, we thought we need to do something as a company.
And there you go.
That actually might make a difference to people's lives.
And that's exactly what it was about. We obviously tried to do it to the amount of time that we did to try and make it stand out, but it was about that legacy, and honestly, that is why you deserve to have your name on there, and many others as well, because it's your commitment, not just to a one-off show to try and make a statement. It's a commitment over how long have you been doing it now? It's obviously more than a year.
We are about 3 weeks away from episode 100,
and that's that just shows the commitment, that it's not just about awards and stuff like that, so.
Well, I'm glad you said that, right? Because I was that worried about the fact that there was an awards due, which meant we were missing a Monday.
Yeah.
That I made sure that we recorded a Mental Monday for yesterday, because I didn't want anyone to go, he's only in it for the awards, because as soon as he got the offer of one, he sparked out and did one.
I mean, it did, but...
So what I did is I recorded a show, just so that people who even subscribe to the podcast would still get a feed. And on this week's show, he said, moving on, we were looking at the focus of two schemes, actually, two projects looking at, and sometimes you say scheme or project, it sounds a little bit, but two ideas that were being used in both Liverpool and Wirral that were looking at the way that we get young people to look at the idea of mental health as well. It came back to that idea of building resilience, but there was an element in some of them of CBT, cognitive behaviour therapy, giving kids an opportunity to look at things that aren't going their way, but being able to deal with it. But one of the things that concerned me, or an issue which was raised, that when I said, what are the problems that young people are facing, the first thing you're expecting to hear, I think, as an adult is social media. You think social media, it's going to be social media, it's going to be Instagram's fault, it's going to be Facebook's fault, it's going to be that world's fault. But in both cases, individually, without one hearing the other, both said for a lot of young people, there's a sense in the world at the moment that they don't matter, that their lives don't matter, that they are helpless in the world around them. I thought, actually, that's a very different problem, and actually one for which you would find a very different solution to concerns about social media. Yeah,
and do you know what? I feel like it's quite a sad kind of... every time that you look in a newspaper, any day, there'll be something about a snowflake generation, there'll be something about how we've got to change because the young people are so soft, they're so sensitive, that we've got to change our way to. And the thing for me, the idea behind is kind of that term, a snowflake, which I just think is absolutely ridiculous anyway. And for me, that is just people being scared of having to change their current ways. And you know what, this generation that are coming through now and generation after them are basically saying, the way that you're currently doing things is not right. And I think absolutely power to them as people. You've just played, I don't know whether, you've planned ahead by playing Revolution by the Beatles, just say that you did. because I think that's exactly what it's going to take, and I think that is what's happening. And I think if you're scared of change, and you're trying to demean people by, referring to them as snowflakes, as oversensitive, why are we having to compromise what we do? Every single generation has done that. Every single generation has done that for the next one.
But I think so. But at the same time, if you've got a generation of kids who at the same time are thinking, well, I'd like to change things, but I don't have the power, and when I suggest things, that gets sort of like shouted down, then that's actually, that's something more, isn't it, than just people looking down. That's about people not being able to say to their own kids or the kids who are in their care, being in a teaching or youth profession, to be able to say, you've got ideas, you've got what should we do with it? What is our opportunity to change? And to a certain extent, you're a kid. Your ability to change the world is relatively small because of the nature of sort of how the system works. But actually, but it doesn't have to be so you think, well, the system isn't for me.
Exactly, and this is the problem: is that you look at a paper, you go on television, you look on social media, on anything that you see, and it is their views and their kind of the desire to make things better for their own lives as a generation that is being demeaned and put down and almost mocked by even like the likes of presidents and people who are in power who are saying, how ridiculous are the young people to be able to suggest we can't do this, we can't do that. And if you've already got concerns anyway and you're dealing with all that and you're trying to make a difference and you're just being shut down and mocked, then it's a hell of a task that they have to be able to try and adjust to the world that kind of seemingly doesn't want to change, and it's incredibly hard for them, and I feel so sorry for them.
But then you would get some kids who will go, right, well, I'm going to double down on this one, and I'm going to come back, and by the time I'm 19 or 20, I'm going to be maybe politically involved and things like that. But you almost want people to just be able to influence the world without having to join a political party or join a campaigning cause, just by the sort of sheer will of ideas or whatever it is that they feel like they can talk about, just how they want their street to look, how they want their family to act. You would hope that strength is something they can draw on, and one from the show that we've just done that I got a sense that's not there at the moment.
No, and yeah, of course you will get some people who will double down, who will make something of it, but you will get probably, I would argue, a majority who won't. And instead will just conform, and they'll bury that inside, and they'll allow those problems to build and turn into something more significant at a later date. And that's just not right. It's not right that we're allowing that to happen to the people who are ultimately going to be the leaders of this world. Why are we allowing that to happen? And then obviously, as discussed yesterday as well, and how bad that support is for people on a kind of on a clinical side of things, how bad that support is for young people as well.
Well, the other thing is, and I mentioned this on the show, the idea that sometimes the adult response, like to young people who are facing difficulties, whatever that difficulty might be, but bullying would be a good example of this one. The adult response is, just ignore them. Just ignore it. It's like, it's terrible advice.
Yeah.
It comes from a good place, and it's basically saying, they're pathetic individuals. Yeah. They don't matter. They've probably got a lot of issues going on in their life, which when you're older, you'll look at them and you think that's actually quite a tragic case. But right now, they are ruining your very existence on the planet, and your ability to ignore them, particularly in the world that we live in now, is pretty much zero. We want to knock that on the head as a piece of advice to a young person.
Well, that's it. You've just elaborated on that saying, on that phrase, ignore them. You've elaborated on that in about 20 seconds there. That doesn't take a lot of effort to be able to elaborate on that, but that changes the whole idea of what you're trying to say by saying ignore them. And at Chasing the Stigma, what we tried to do, so at the end of last year we launched our accredited mental health training program called Ambassadors of Hope, and exactly what we were trying to do through that training program was to say, would you know what to do if somebody was to come to you and speak to you about your mental health? And we are focusing on adults, because the advice that is out there is talk to somebody, but how many people, not just young people, but especially young people, are turning to parents to grandparents, to friends and family who have absolutely no idea how to have that conversation with them. And that's why we need to be focusing. Obviously, we do need to focus on the people who are struggling themselves, but we need to be focusing on the people who are around them, that support network, because we do know that the help is really hard to access, and we need to be able to enable people to have the tools to have those conversations. I'm sure everybody, once given the chance to elaborate on that point like what you've just made, would be able to do so, but it's giving them the tools to be able to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the adult equivalent of saying to somebody, "Oh, well, what have you got to be depressed about?" Or just pull yourself together.
Exactly.
It's the equivalent of that, isn't it?
And I, obviously, that's helped zero people.
True. I'm feeling this way. I'll pull yourself together. Oh, nice one. Yeah, Sam.
Actually,
I feel a lot better now.
Yeah, you're right.
In The Guardian today, Robert Booth, social affairs correspondent, more than 1 million people who care for both children and older relatives are at significantly higher risk of mental health problems and are more likely to struggle for money than the general population, official data has revealed. The so-called sandwich generation, squeezed between older and younger dependents, now accounts for 1.3 million people. Not the first time that we've seen, Jake, figures which suggest that people who are around those who might also have mental health issues are then at risk of themselves, and those who obviously find themselves in a situation, in a caring role, where there's very little option to switch off, particularly the sandwich generation.
Yeah. And then to make things worse, they're referred to as the sandwich generation. Which is not going to help anyone, is it? But it is right. We need to be looking at a kind of a wider picture here. It's not about that one person, about all the other people who are affected by that. Being a carer obviously is really that's kind of such a difficult task, and the focus generally is on the person who you're caring for. But there's a lot of support out there for carers, and particularly in the third sector, and it's important to be able to be aware of that, and be aware that just because you care for somebody else doesn't mean that you don't care for yourself. Yeah,
and in terms of the system helping itself, they picked out a 60-year-old who cares for her 89-year-old mother and her daughter with severe cerebral palsy. And she says one of her main causes of anxiety and depression was likely to be the constant battle with services because they are so stretched. So actually part of the problem is supposed to be what the solution is, which is the access to those services as well. Also, within the group that they've picked out here, juggling work and care duties also severely affects general happiness levels, the data shows. 1 in 7 people caring for 10 to 19 hours a week also work. Within this group, 29%, give or take 1 in 3, said they were dissatisfied with life. That's a high number, isn't it, to say something as strong as that you're dissatisfied with life.
What was the number again?
29%.
Yeah. And again, it's because their life becomes other people, and that's why it's important to look after yourself as well as looking after them, because you are a person yourself. And I think sometimes people feel guilty to even consider their own mental health or their own mental well-being. But you can't look after somebody if you're not looking after yourself.
The solution that she picked out, the correspondent I mentioned before, who's 60 years of age, her own solution to the stress of life as a sandwich carer was to knit. The more complicated the pattern, the better. Then I can't think of anything but what I'm doing. And I think, well,
yeah, it's an example of finding that way yourself. And there's a lot to be said about that. But also at the same time, you don't have to just focus on that. You can be going to a doctor. You can be going to support groups. But I think it is really important to find that own way for yourself as well.
I've got a piece as well from the Mirror today. Self-help: how to combat work anxiety. Top 5. I've had a little jingle. I'll press the play now. Be realistic. You don't have to be perfect all the time. Everyone has periods when they're less productive. You can't be 100% all the time. Number 4, keep your body nourished. Make sure you're drinking enough water during the day and eating well. It's easy to forget and eat and drink if you have a lot to do. Don't end up drinking endless cups of coffee and nothing else. Take regular breaks. Get up, even if it's just to make a cup of tea. At lunchtime, try and go out for half an hour of peace and quiet. Outside as well. Circadian rhythms, I've been reading about that. Keep focused. If you have a to-do list at the start of the day, go through it and don't allow yourself to be distracted by emails coming in. Otherwise, you'll feel that you've been non-productive because you haven't finished your work to-do list. And talk to someone. Employers by law have to make reasonable adjustments for you if you're experiencing anxiety. It's in the organisation's interest to keep you at work, because when people go off work for a long period of time, it's very difficult for them to return. There you go. Top 5 things there.
I mean, groundbreaking stuff. I'm not having a go, but telling people to have a drink of water is not exactly.
I bet you though there are loads of people who are at work who are thinking, oh, and I bet if you said to them, have you told them that you're stressed and you're anxious? They'd probably go, oh no, I feel like I can't do that one. Do you have to constantly respond to emails as they arrive because otherwise somebody gets on your back? Yes. Do you get regular breaks with an opportunity to go outside? No, I don't have the time. Do you keep your body nourished? No, I just grab and go as and when, and it's often a bar of chocolate. And do you drink nothing but coffee? Yeah. And can you be realistic? I think a lot of people would fall into a million one of those traps.
Yeah, but at the same time, I think this is something that needs to be tackled head on by the employees themselves, because I would guess, and certainly from the people who we've spoken to, you would say, an employer is obliged by law to act on this and to listen to you, but the reality of it is often very different to what it should be. So I obviously agree with everything that they're saying, but I think we need to be tackling the employers head on, and they need to be leading by example. And if they're not, then in my opinion, they need to be called on.
This time last year, 2:45, we weren't even nearly part way through. Well, we were part way through. Yeah,
we were. We were still excited, weren't we? We were still like, oh, this is a bit... Because you're still in a work day, really, aren't you?
Yeah, I think the waffles had arrived by this point.
Yeah, which we didn't even eat, did we?
Although Angela Samata, who appeared as the late-night guest on the 24-hour marathon, put some pictures on her social media today going, I can't believe this was a year ago, including like a room which had like a load of food in it. And I swear I had never seen that picture before. I had never seen that food. I was thinking, we were in the the entire time, and we never got a bite of that stuff.
Well, there was cake, there's sweets, there was things with, high in sugar to be able to get you through, that the people who needed didn't actually get. So there's a lot to be said about that.
That pizza that we had cold at 5:05 that's still up there with probably top 3 pizzas of all time.
It was like God made it himself.
But then the pizza come down was a tough one, wasn't it?
Yeah,
6 a.m. through 9 a.m.
That was the worst bit, actually. Just having that 5 minutes in pizza where you're just like, oh, what are we doing? Because you have the chance to actually go, what are we doing? What are we doing? And actually, on that point about getting outside and all that, because that was a big thing for me, is that we couldn't really go outside. You could, but there was nothing open. There wasn't anywhere you could go. You'd literally be walking down around the city centre in pitch black. So we didn't have that really opportunity to even get any fresh air, and that's kind of, just not, you can't open a window in this tower, can you?
We broke the rules
exactly
of Dr. Miriam Stoppard,
and
we certainly weren't realistic.
I take it back. She was groundbreaking.
Thank you for your time. What's going on at Chasing the Stigma this week?
We are pushing our Ambassadors of Hope training programme. If you're at a workplace anywhere in the country, no matter how big or small, get in touch and find out how we can equip you and your staff within 20 minutes to be able to deal with the situation, talking about mental health and how to find help. And any fundraisers, the Hub of Hope, which is the database we've built, it's not funded by anyone. We depend entirely on public donations for that. So any fundraising attempts that anyone might have, please get in touch.
Hubofhope.co.uk. If you want to get in contact with Jake, you can do so via social media. Links on our social media, or contact us here at the station.
Mental Health Monday
on Radio City Talk
with Mick Coyle.
Tackling the stigma.
Radio City Talk.